My friends, what I'm about to share today might challenge everything you've believed about God's process of blessing. The truth is, when God prepares to release extraordinary wealth into your life, He doesn't begin with comfort and instant gratification. Instead, He initiates a profound period of testing. This divine testing isn't punishment, it's preparation for something far greater than you can imagine. Have you ever wondered why some seasons of lack persist in your life despite your faithful prayers for abundance? Why the path to prosperity often feels like walking through a wilderness rather than stepping into an oasis? Has this ever happened to you? You've been faithfully serving, giving and praying, yet doors seem to close instead of open. Bank accounts dwindle rather than multiply. Relationships that once seemed promising suddenly dissolve. These aren't signs of divine abandonment. They're evidence of divine appointment. You see, God will not pour precious resources into vessels that leak. He cannot entrust divine abundance to hearts still governed by fear, pride, or greed. The test always precedes the treasure. Pressure always comes before promotion. The silence always arrives before the sound of multiplication. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. What's happening in those challenging seasons is that God is methodically stripping away your illusions of control. He's removing false securities you've built, those backup plans, those relationships you depend on more than Him, those skills you trust in above His provision. He's creating space where your human wisdom, your natural strengths, your carefully constructed safety nets are simply not enough. And in that vulnerable space, many begin asking, God, why are you doing this to me? But friends, stay with me until the end, because the real question isn't why, it's what. What is God preparing me for? What assignment awaits on the other side of this wilderness? What level of impact requires this depth of preparation? Every test in your life points to treasure on the horizon. Every closed door signals an imminent divine opening. Every moment of lack is building capacity for lasting abundance. God isn't trying to break you. He's qualifying you for something extraordinary. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because the pattern of heaven's economy operates differently than Earth's. In God's kingdom, the foundation must be tested before the structure rises. Character must be formed before currency flows. Identity must be secured before influence expands. Think about this. Would you trust untested materials to build a skyscraper? Would you place priceless treasures in a container with cracks? Of course not. How much more carefully does the Creator of the universe prepare those He plans to entrust with kingdom resources that will impact generations? The stripping away you feel right now, that uncomfortable, sometimes painful process, isn't rejection. It's refinement. It's not punishment. It's preparation. And as we continue this journey together, I'll reveal why these seasons of testing are actually the greatest evidence that extraordinary abundance is already making its way toward you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because there's a profound revelation that many miss during seasons of testing. You see, when God observes you in these wilderness moments, He's not primarily concerned with your financial capabilities. He's watching your stewardship mindset. The divine economy operates on principles that transform our very understanding of what wealth truly is. In God's kingdom, wealth isn't just about currency, it's about stewardship. While you're fixated on the balance in your account, God is focused on the balance in your heart. During these testing periods, He's observing something far more valuable than your portfolio, your response to lack. When resources diminish, do you spiral into complaint or do you pivot to praise? When uncertainty looms, do you panic or do you rest in faith? This is where the hidden truth emerges. God doesn't listen merely to your words. He attunes himself to the attitude behind them. Your inner dialogue reveals more about your readiness for abundance than your public declarations ever could. The journey toward prosperity isn't just external. It's an internal transformation that recalibrates how you perceive both plenty and scarcity. Many people approach God with conditional generosity. They proclaim, "Lord, if you would just give me more, I would give more." Yet this mindset reveals a profound misunderstanding of the divine pathway to increase. God isn't waiting to see what you'll do with abundance. He's watching what you're doing with what you have right now. Are you clutching tightly to your limited resources, or are you maintaining open hands, even in seasons of lack? Here's the revelation that's reshaping destinies. True generosity isn't born in abundance. It's birthed in gratitude. The seed of extraordinary giving isn't planted in prosperity. It's cultivated in appreciation for what already exists. This perspective shift creates a foundation strong enough to sustain the weight of future. Blessing without corruption. The divine pattern often surprises us with its counterintuitive nature. God frequently hides opportunities inside what appears to be opposition. He conceals increase behind inconvenience. He plants promotion within problems. This isn't divine trickery, it's divine testing. Only those with spiritual discernment can recognize the blessing disguised as burden, the open door camouflaged as obstacle. Your decision-making during seasons of lack demonstrates your readiness. For seasons of plenty, when you choose generosity despite limitation, when you maintain integrity despite invisibility, when you cultivate gratitude despite difficulty, you're passing tests you might not even realize you're taking. These moments of faithful stewardship over little become divine qualifications for stewardship over much. If this message on divine testing and wealth resonated with you, join our faith community by hitting subscribe. Every revelation we share is designed to transform your relationship with abundance. What makes this understanding so transformative is that it completely reframes our relationship with current circumstances. The test isn't about enduring hardship, it's about revealing character. It's not about surviving scarcity, it's about thriving through faithful stewardship regardless of external conditions. Behind the scenes of your testing season, God is developing something far more valuable than financial literacy. He's cultivating spiritual maturity. Type in the comments, "Stewardship starts now," if you're recognizing that your current response to lack is actually preparing your future relationship with abundance. Consider this profound pattern throughout Scripture and history. Every promised land is preceded by a wilderness. This isn't coincidental, it's intentional. The wilderness isn't a detour from your destiny, it's actually the pathway to it. This revelation fundamentally shifts how we navigate challenging seasons in our spiritual journey toward abundance. In the wilderness, when resources are scarce and progress seems slow, God isn't distant. He's conducting a thorough examination of your heart. The landscape of lack becomes the laboratory where your true character is revealed. When nobody's watching, do you maintain the same integrity as when you're in the spotlight? When there's no audience to applaud your faithfulness, does your discipline remain steadfast? The wilderness strips away the external motivations that often drive our behavior, the praise, the recognition, the immediate rewards. What remains is the authentic foundation of who you truly are when all the scaffolding of external validation falls away. This is precisely why God values wilderness seasons. They reveal truth that prosperity often conceals. Here's a perspective shift that's revolutionizing how believers approach their seasons of testing. Wealth isn't just something you possess, it's something you must carry. And like any substantial weight, Carrying wealth requires strength that can only be developed through resistance training. The resistance you feel right now, the financial pressure, the delayed breakthrough, the seeming silence from heaven, is actually building spiritual muscle needed for sustainable success. If God were to release premature blessing into your life, wealth without the wisdom to steward it, influence without the integrity to wield it, platforms without the purpose to direct them, that blessing could actually break you. We've all witnessed the tragic stories of those who received sudden abundance only to be destroyed by it. Their foundations weren't sufficient for the structure God intended to build. That's why God, in His mercy, places you in hidden seasons of purification. These behind-the-scenes moments when you feel forgotten, overlooked, or unnecessarily delayed are actually divine protection. He's refining your motives, strengthening your character, and deepening your dependence on Him rather than on the blessing itself. The correlation between preparation and sustainability is unmistakable. The longer the preparation, the stronger the foundation. The deeper the roots grow in secret, the higher the branches can reach in public. What appears to be a frustrating delay is actually divine development, ensuring that when your season of increase arrives, it won't just visit briefly, it will remain permanently. This architectural principle of the kingdom explains why some believers experience sudden success only to watch it crumble, while others build more slowly but create legacies that endure for generations. God isn't just interested in blessing you. He's committed to transforming you into someone who can carry blessing without being corrupted by it. The wilderness isn't punishment, it's preparation. The hidden season isn't rejection, it's refinement. The waiting period isn't wasted time, it's weight training for the wealth that's coming. If you're understanding this deeper purpose behind your current challenges, type "building strength for blessing" in the comments below. Let me take you to perhaps the most challenging dimension of divine testing, the unsettling experience of silence. You've likely encountered this profound phenomenon. You pray, but heaven seems silent. You work diligently, but results remain delayed. You give faithfully, but the return appears hidden. During these seasons, everything you touch seems to disintegrate rather than multiply, and an uncomfortable question emerges: has God abandoned me? This perception of divine absence creates one of the most significant watershed moments in your spiritual development. But here's the paradigm shift that transforms waiting from torment to training. The silence of God is not His absence, it's His inspection. When heaven seems quiet, God is actually at His most attentive, conducting a thorough assessment of your spiritual resilience. In this silence, He's watching intently. Will you remain faithful when there's no immediate feedback? Will you continue sowing when nothing visibly grows? Will you maintain your gratitude when circumstances suggest complaint? These moments of apparent divine distance are actually moments of profound divine discernment, separating the authentic from the artificial, the committed from the convenient, the faithful from the fickle. God uses these silent seasons to verify that your loyalty is to Him, not merely to what He provides. He's establishing whether your relationship with Him can withstand the absence of tangible rewards. This verification process is essential because of a fundamental truth. Divine wealth isn't casual currency, it's a sacred assignment. The resources God entrusts to His people aren't provided primarily for personal comfort or self-exaltation. They're allocated for divine purpose, kingdom advancement, and generational impact. Before placing such significant responsibility in your hands, God must be certain that your identity is firmly rooted in relationship rather than in resource. This explains why, during testing seasons, God systematically exposes every idol hiding in your heart, those subtle dependencies you've built on anything other than Him. He'll allow the business you trusted to struggle, the relationship you leaned on to shift, the skill you relied on to be insufficient. This divine deconstruction isn't meant to devastate you. It's designed to deliver you from false foundations. The ultimate destination of this stripping away is profound. God takes you to a place where only faith can feed you, where only trust can sustain you. When every visible support has been removed, you discover the unshakable reality that has been there all along, His presence as your true provision. This revelation becomes the bedrock upon which lasting wealth can safely stand. Think about it. If your sense of security, significance, and satisfaction is derived from anything other than God Himself, then wealth would only magnify that misplacement. But when you've been thoroughly tested and can genuinely say, "Though He slay me, yet will I trust Him," you've developed the spiritual infrastructure to handle heaven's assignments with integrity. The journey through divine silence isn't punishment, it's preparation for purpose. It's not random suffering, it's strategic strengthening for stewardship. If you're experiencing God's silence right now, drop "being inspected," not rejected in the comments if you recognize this truth is speaking directly to your current season. Let me illuminate another dimension of God's testing process that often gets misinterpreted. Those closed doors in your life that feel like painful rejections, they're actually divine redirections. What appears as a devastating setback is frequently God's strategic intervention, guiding you away from what feels comfortable toward what fulfills your purpose. When a relationship suddenly dissolves, a career opportunity vanishes, or a business venture collapses, our natural response is grief and questioning. We mourn what seems lost, unaware that these apparent losses are actually liberation from what was limiting us. God will often close doors that lead to mere comfort, so He can open gates that lead to profound purpose. The architecture of divine destiny sometimes requires demolition before construction. What feels like things falling apart is actually everything false collapsing, so everything real can emerge. This revelation transforms how we process disappointment. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance, we recognize we're subjects of strategic repositioning. Here's the counterintuitive wisdom that's reshaping how we understand divine testing. What feels like loss often contains hidden within it the seeds of future increase. That business that failed taught you lessons no success could have. That relationship that ended freed you for connections that will fuel your purpose. That rejection redirected you to the path always intended for you. You aren't being punished, you're being positioned. You aren't being forgotten, you're being focused. You aren't being diminished, you're being developed for deployment at precisely the right time and place. This perspective transforms the narrative of your challenges from random suffering to purposeful shaping. Now, beyond the external circumstances, God's testing process goes even deeper to examine the internal condition of your heart. The true wealth test isn't primarily about acquiring money, it's about mastering desire. The fundamental question isn't whether you can obtain resources, but whether you can govern them without being governed by them. This reveals the profound psychological dimension of divine testing. Can you master your desires, or will your desires master you? Can you maintain perspective when provision increases? Can you remain humble when influence expands? Can you still depend completely on God when your accounts are full? These questions expose the ultimate purpose behind testing, its preparation for mastery, not merely for money. Many believers misunderstand wealth as simply having more, but authentic prosperity requires becoming more, developing the character that can handle abundance without being corrupted by it. What God deposits in your account will always magnify what already exists in your heart. If pride lives in your heart, money will multiply it. If generosity dwells within you, resources will amplify it. This explains why God sometimes delays certain blessings until you're spiritually mature enough to steward them correctly. The timing of divine provision isn't about punishment, it's about preparation. The delay isn't about denial, it's about development. If you recognize that your current challenges are developing your capacity for stewardship rather than blocking your breakthrough, type "mastering desire" before acquiring wealth in the comments. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining a surprising dimension of God's testing that many overlook. Have you noticed seasons of financial dryness in your life? Times when provision seems limited, resources restricted, or opportunities constrained? What if these aren't punishments or coincidences, but intentional classrooms in divine economics? When God allows you to experience financial limitations, He's not withholding blessing, He's establishing education. These seasons of constraint are actually sacred curriculums designed to teach you divine order, the prioritization of purpose over pleasure, mission over material comfort, and obedience over mere opportunity. This hierarchy of values becomes the infrastructure that can safely support future abundance. Think about it this way. If your foundation is flawed, expansion becomes dangerous. When God restricts your resources temporarily, He's creating space for you to re-examine your financial belief system. He's recalibrating your understanding of source and supply. These moments of monetary pressure are designed to reveal a fundamental truth. Your true source is not your paycheck, not your business, not your connections or credentials. It's Him. This revelation represents a quantum leap in spiritual maturity. Once you genuinely understand that God is your source, circumstances lose their power to dictate your peace. Economic fluctuations no longer determine your emotional stability. You've graduated from the mindset of survival to the mindset of stewardship, and stewardship is the gateway to divine wealth. Alongside this financial education comes another profound test, what I call the test of anonymity. This dimension of divine assessment often feels especially unfair. God will strategically allow your efforts to go unnoticed, your contributions to be overlooked, your sacrifices to remain unacknowledged. He permits circumstances where others receive credit for your ideas or recognition for your work. Become part of this journey of faith and prosperity by subscribing now. Together we'll explore God's divine principles for sustainable wealth and purpose-driven abundance. Why would a loving God allow such apparent injustice? Because He's testing something crucial: how you handle obscurity. Can you remain excellent when no one's applauding? Can you maintain integrity when no one's watching? Can you continue serving faithfully in hidden places? Your response to anonymity reveals your readiness for authority. The reality that few understand is this: faithfulness in hidden places qualifies you for high places. What you do when no one's looking determines what God entrusts when everyone's watching. The reason some never experience the fullness of divine abundance is that they fail this critical test of anonymity. They crave recognition before developing revelation, platform before establishing purpose, visibility before solidifying values. But God's economy operates differently than man's. He doesn't promote noise, He promotes faithfulness. When you learn to walk with God without requiring human validation, He can reveal you to the world without explanation. Your private obedience becomes the foundation for your public abundance. This behind-the-scenes development is where true transformation occurs. While others chase spotlights, you're developing substance. While others seek shortcuts to success, you're building a character that can sustain it. If you're currently in a season where your faithfulness seems hidden and Your efforts unrecognized, type faithful in obscurity. In the comments, if you recognize God might be qualifying you for greater visibility. Let me reveal to you what I consider one of the most illuminating patterns in God's kingdom, the sacred sequence of promotion. This divine blueprint explains why certain blessings seem delayed and why shortcuts to success often lead to collapse. You see, God follows a consistent pattern in elevating his people. First the test, then the trust, then the treasure. This progression isn't random. It's revelatory of how heaven prepares vessels for sustained abundance. The test phase proves your dependence. It's where God allows pressure points and pinch moments that reveal whether you'll lean on your own understanding or trust his guidance. When resources are limited and solutions aren't obvious, do you panic or do you pray? Do you manipulate circumstances or do you surrender to divine wisdom? These response patterns tell God everything about your readiness for the next phase. Once the test demonstrates your dependence, God moves you into the trust phase, a sacred territory where your character deepens through consistent obedience. Here, you learn to walk by faith rather than sight, to make decisions based on principle rather than pressure, to maintain integrity when compromise seems easier. This spiritual muscle building prepares the infrastructure of your character to support the weight of blessing. Only after these foundations are established does God release the treasure, the manifestation of obedience through tangible blessing. This final phase isn't just about receiving, it's about revealing what the previous phases have built within you. The blessing becomes evidence of transformation, not just accumulation. Here's the revelation that explains many believers' frustration. You cannot skip any stage without consequences. Those who attempt to grasp treasure without passing tests find their blessings slipping through their fingers. Those who try to earn trust without developing dependence discover their character crumbling under pressure. The sequence isn't just important, it's essential for sustainable success. This pattern extends into another dimension of divine testing, the principle of proportional responsibility. God consistently tests you with small assignments before entrusting you with larger responsibilities. He's measuring something specific: how you treat what seems insignificant. Do you approach small tasks with the same excellence you'd bring to major platforms? Do you serve with the same dedication when it doesn't directly benefit you? Do you give with joy even when nobody witnesses your generosity? These seemingly minor moments are actually major evaluations. Every unseen act of obedience becomes a deposit in your spiritual account, building credit for future withdrawals of blessing. God watches how you handle the $5 before he entrusts you with 5,000. He observes your faithfulness with one follower before giving you influence over thousands. The revelation here is profound. There are no small assignments in God's kingdom, only small thinking about assignments. What appears insignificant to human perception is often significant in divine preparation. The way you process paperwork, interact with difficult people, or manage limited resources today is directly connected to how you'll steward abundance tomorrow. If you're recognizing that God has been testing your faithfulness in small things as preparation for greater responsibility, type small things, big evaluation in the comments below. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring one of the most revealing dimensions of divine testing, one that exposes the true condition of our hearts. Have you noticed how often God allows others around you to be blessed, promoted, or elevated before you? This phenomenon isn't random. It's an intentional test of your spiritual maturity. When God allows you to witness someone else receiving the very blessing you've been praying for, he's not being cruel. He's being strategic. He's creating a sacred opportunity for you to demonstrate whether your faith is authentic or merely transactional. This divine mirror reflects something profound. Can you genuinely celebrate another's breakthrough without harboring jealousy or resentment? Can you rejoice in their elevation without questioning your own timeline? This revelation uncovers a hidden truth about divine preparation. Your reaction to someone else's blessing reveals far more about your readiness than your reaction to your own blessing ever could. When another receives what you've been waiting for, your immediate emotional response exposes whether your heart can truly handle prosperity without comparison or competition. The transformative insight here is that God does not bless bitterness. He blesses faith. The moment you can genuinely rejoice in another's increase without mental reservation, you signal to heaven that you're ready for your own. This capacity for celebration without contamination represents a profound milestone in your journey toward wealth readiness. Many believers abort their divine prosperity by failing this specific test. They see others advancing and think, "Why them and not me?" Not realizing that this very question disqualifies them from the blessing they seek. The comparison mindset creates a spiritual bottleneck that restricts the flow of abundance. But when you choose gratitude over grievance and celebration over criticism, you remove that blockage and create space for your own increase. This understanding connects directly to another critical aspect of wealth preparation, correctly interpreting the meaning of hardship. Many believers misinterpret testing as rejection, obstacles as opposition, and delay as denial. This fundamental misreading of divine methodology causes them to abandon the very process designed to prepare them for unprecedented prosperity. Here's the paradigm shift that transforms frustration into anticipation. The longer God tests you, the greater the assignment ahead. Extended seasons of testing aren't punishment. They're preparation for something so significant that it requires exceptional capacity to carry it. The weight of your current struggle indicates the weight of your future blessing. The intensity of your battle reveals the importance of your calling. When you recognize that God isn't trying to diminish you but develop you, everything changes. Suddenly, challenges aren't tormentors but trainers. Difficulties aren't punishing you. They're preparing you. Delays aren't denying your dream. They're developing your capacity to sustain it. This perspective transformation fundamentally alters how you engage with the testing process. Behind the scenes of your current hardship, God isn't abandoning you. He's equipping you for an assignment that will require every lesson you're learning right now. If this revelation is shifting how you view your present circumstances, type "not rejected, just prepared" in the comments if you're beginning to see your challenges through this new lens. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring one of the most counterintuitive principles in God's economy, the relationship between pressure and proximity to breakthrough. Have you noticed how often the resistance intensifies just before release comes? This spiritual phenomenon isn't coincidental. It's a consistent pattern throughout Scripture and throughout believers' experiences. When pressure intensifies in your life, when challenges multiply rather than decrease, when opposition strengthens rather than weakens, when everything feels harder rather than easier, many interpret this as evidence they're moving in the wrong direction. But this revelation will transform your perspective. Intensified pressure often signals that breakthrough is imminent. It's not a warning to retreat. It's confirmation you're advancing toward your divine appointment with abundance. Think of it as the principle of childbirth. The contractions are most painful right before new life emerges. The darkness is most profound right before dawn breaks. The winter is harshest right before spring arrives. These natural patterns reflect a spiritual truth. God often hides harvest in the hardest moments, concealing your greatest breakthrough behind your greatest battle. The divine strategy behind this approach is profound. It ensures that those who receive breakthrough possess the resilience required to steward it properly. If you abandon your assignment when pressure peaks, you demonstrate you weren't ready for what waited on the other side. But when you keep moving despite exhaustion, keep trusting despite uncertainty, keep sowing despite seeing no immediate harvest, you're proving your spiritual stamina. This understanding leads directly into another critical dimension of divine testing, the test of timing. Few aspects of spiritual development create more frustration than God's timelines, which rarely align with our preferred schedules. When God makes you wait for something you've been faithfully believing for, He isn't being indifferent to your desire. He's intentionally building your endurance. Waiting isn't wasted time, it's divine preparation. The ecosystem of heaven operates on different principles than the microwave mentality of our culture. Quick results often produce shallow roots, while patient waiting creates depth that sustains lasting blessing. God's delays aren't denials, they're deliberate investments in your spiritual infrastructure. Think about how a master vintner creates exceptional wine. The process cannot be rushed. Time itself becomes an essential ingredient in the creation of something extraordinary. Similarly, certain dimensions of spiritual maturity simply cannot be accelerated. Character formation requires seasons. Wisdom demands experiences, and resilience necessitates challenges over time. Many believers lose their blessing because they cannot handle delay. They demand quick manifestation, not realizing that quick results often produce temporary rewards. God wants your blessing to last, not just appear, so He stretches time to stretch your trust. When you learn to wait without complaining, when you can praise without proof, you demonstrate readiness for sustainable abundance. If you're finding yourself in what feels like the most intense pressure point of your journey, or in a seemingly endless waiting season, type "breaking through the pressure" in the comments if you recognize God might be positioning you on the precipice of your greatest breakthrough yet. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining a dimension of divine testing that affects us perhaps more personally than any other: the test of relationships. This revelation often arrives as a painful awakening. Not everyone currently in your life is meant to accompany you into your next season of blessing. This isn't about elitism or arrogance, it's about alignment with divine purpose. During seasons of testing, God methodically reveals the relational dynamics that either fuel or frustrate your journey toward destiny. Certain connections that once seemed essential gradually expose themselves as emotional drains, faith diluters, or vision diminishers. This revelation isn't meant to isolate you, it's designed to insulate your purpose from relationships that cannot support its weight. The divine assessment in this season is profound. Can you choose peace over popularity? Can you prioritize purpose over approval? Can you maintain your convictions even when they cost you connections? God watches intently as you navigate these relational crossroads because they reveal your readiness for greater responsibility. Here's the counterintuitive truth that many miss: the ability to walk alone in obedience when necessary qualifies you for divine wealth. This doesn't mean permanent isolation. It means developing the spiritual independence that allows you to follow divine guidance even when no one walks alongside you. This capacity for principled solitude becomes a crucial qualification for sustainable success. God permits seasons where trusted allies withdraw, mentors misunderstand, or friends fade away, not to punish you but to prove you. He's establishing whether your obedience depends on external validation or internal conviction. When you demonstrate willingness to stand alone for truth, you signal readiness for resources that will impact many. This journey through divine testing ultimately creates the most beautiful transformation, the metamorphosis from victim to victor, from confused to confident, from bitter to better. Every challenging experience you endure becomes part of your unique message to the world. Every test gradually transforms into testimony. What once appeared as senseless suffering reveals itself as strategic shaping. What felt like random resistance emerges as intentional refinement. Every loss becomes a lesson, every delay a declaration of God's faithfulness, every disappointment a divine redirection towards something better. This perspective shift fundamentally alters how you engage with life's challenges. When you begin seeing tests as preparation rather than punishment, everything changes. Your mindset transitions from passive endurance to active engagement with the divine development process. You no longer view challenges as obstacles to avoid, but as opportunities to grow. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and recognize yourself as a student in the classroom of character formation. This transformation leads to a profound revelation. You no longer need to chase wealth because you're becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts it through alignment with divine principles. Your character, competence, and calling converge to create a foundation that can safely support significant blessing. If you're experiencing this shift from resisting the process to embracing it, type "from test to testimony" in the comments if this message is resonating with your journey right now. As we draw this journey to a close, I hope you've discovered something profound about your current season of testing. Perhaps you've recognized that what felt like divine absence was actually divine assessment all along, that your struggles aren't random but revelatory of what's being prepared for you. If this message has resonated with your spirit today, I'd love to know you're here. Simply write "divine timing" in the comments below so I can acknowledge you personally. Your testimony matters, and your journey inspires others who might be walking through similar wilderness seasons. This conversation we've shared today isn't just content, it's connection. If you found value in these insights, consider hitting the like button as a simple way of affirming that this message met you where you needed it. Each like helps these principles reach others who might be questioning their process or misinterpreting their testing. For those who want to continue growing in understanding divine economics, I've created this channel specifically for believers navigating the complex relationship between faith and prosperity. By subscribing, you'll join a community of like-minded seekers committed to building wealth with integrity and purpose. I share new revelations each week, designed to transform not just what you have, but who you're becoming. Speaking of transformation, I've created a companion to today's message that explores what happens after the testing season ends, when divine wealth actually begins to flow. It addresses the challenges and responsibilities that come with stewardship. Click the video appearing now to continue unpacking this vital journey together. The principles there will build directly on what we've established today. Remember, your current testing isn't your final testimony. It's merely the foundation being laid for a purpose greater than you can currently imagine. Let's continue discovering that purpose together.